Hi guys, it's been a while since I came on here. It's been a very busy spring, but today I just wanted to do a really quick tutorial about why people choose to use faux-ligraphy. So if you don't really know what that is, it's just the process of making normal lettering. So like if I wrote hello in normal cursive, it's just the process of making it look like I wrote it in calligraphy. So it's thickening the downstrokes so that the upstrokes look like they are made by a thinner marker. So there's your faux-ligraphy. So I'm just going to talk about why people use this instead of just doing regular calligraphy. There are several reasons that this can come in handy. The main reason is that you may want to do calligraphy with a pen or in a size that isn't really made for that. So I kind of brought a few different ones. So if you wanted to do pencil calligraphy, obviously the pencil doesn't have that flexible tip like a calligraphy pen has. Same with like if you wanted to do a chalkboard in calligraphy, if you wanted to do embossing in calligraphy and you don't have a great pen for it. Also, if you just want to do Sharpie or you wanted to do a marker that doesn't have a flexible tip. So there's lots of different applications for using faux-ligraphy, and that's kind of why people use it a lot. It's also a good way to do it if you're not really quite ready to use... Sorry, that's my kid. He's hanging out with me. You're not really interested or ready to use traditional calligraphy tools. So obviously you could use a flexible brush pen if you wanted to and get the same effect with your thicks and thins. And that's great if you have that on hand or if it works on whatever material you're going to use. But sometimes it just doesn't work like that, and I do a lot of wood signs and I do a lot of just other applications. So here's like just an example of what like a wood surface would look like that I might work on. Apparently my son wants to help me introduce this topic, so are you trying to help? Yeah, you are. So you can see that this is a pretty rough surface, and so if I wanted to use my brush pen on there or my pen with the nib, it wouldn't work very well. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this video. So this is where faux-ligraphy would come in handy, because I could use a paint pen on here and then just do my thicker down strokes on there and make it look like I used calligraphy when I really just kind of cheated a little bit. It's not really cheating, it's just another technique. So I kind of wanted to show you how I might use it just practically. So here, if I wanted to make a pretty card, or I wanted to make a just an illustrated work and I wanted to do embossed lettering, which is something I've really enjoyed doing. This is a place where I use the faux-ligraphy a lot. And to do this, I use sometimes I use a paint pen, or I'll just use a simple pencil even to mark out my letters. And so if I were going to write, maybe, let's see, what would be a nice thing to write on a card? We'll just write, I love you. Alright, we'll do kind of a mix of that. Let's see. Okay. Something like that. So I wanted to do something like that, but I wanted to emboss it, which just really, in this case, I'm talking about using the embossing powder. If you've never used this, it's pretty fun. Just makes it's basically a little wax, I don't know, if you've never used them, they're like little wax beads, tiny little, or I guess wax dust, I don't really even know what it's made out of, but it just melts onto the paper and makes it kind of a raised letter, and it's usually really shiny. Like this gold one is so shiny, I love it. So in order to do that, I would just grab one of my pens, and now technically, oh, that's my fabric marker, whoops, looks the same. I'd grab one of my pens, and this is technically a watermark pen. They also have pens that are specific for embossing, like one of these guys. It really doesn't matter, it just has to be a slow drying ink. And they do make them with lots of different tips, but honestly I haven't found them to be super helpful in making the lettering styles I like to do. So I still kind of implement the faux-ligraphy technique just to get it to look the way I like. So this one technically has a brush tip, but you can see it's a pretty like flimsy brush tip, so it doesn't really have the control I like. So it's really up to you. If you'd like to use, just go straight for this pen and do brush lettering, that's awesome. But I kind of I just tend to go for the faux-ligraphy technique. So this one happens to be dual tip, so for that I just tend to go for the, I know it's kind of messy now because I do this all the time, but it doesn't matter because it'll get covered. So I go for the thin tip first, and I go ahead and highlight all my upstrokes. And if you haven't done much of this, it may take a little practice to know which ones are going to be the upstrokes, but I mean it's pretty, once you've done it a couple times, it's pretty straightforward. So I'm just picking my upstrokes where I know it's going to be a thinner line. And now for the print part, I always just go full. For the finer tip, just the whole thing. Okay, so now that I have isolated my upstrokes, I'm going to go ahead and go for the downstrokes. Now you could do this two ways. I could have gone ahead and covered all of this and then gone back through and done a second line next to all my downstrokes, which is totally fine. But I like this pen because it's got a little brush tip, so it makes a thick line. I don't have to do a double line. So I just will do the thicker line on that downstroke. I know it's kind of hard to see right now because I'm using mostly transparent ink. It's the only reason you can even see it at all is because it's gotten ink on it before. But I'm just going back through, finding my downstrokes. And this is what you would do with any faux-ligraphy technique. So I'm just happening to do it embossing. So then you'll just do put your little dust on there. You can do, I love gold, so I just do gold on everything. This one is the Princess Gold by, who is this? Ranger? It says Ranger. I think that's the brand. Really doesn't matter. Tap that off. And then you can see that it looks like calligraphy now, and there's a couple spots where a little bit more dust stuck than I like, so that's when I just get a little paintbrush. It's nice to have one on hand and just kind of knock some of that out. And you can, even with that, this is why embossing is so great, because you can totally clean it up before you commit to what it's going to look like. So go ahead and clean up some of those. Oh, you can tell I kind of missed one there too, so I can go back through, grab my pan here. Hopefully you can see me. I don't know where my camera is right now. There we go. Alright, fix that. Alright, now it should be ready to go. I'll just go ahead and clean that back up. I guess I must have gotten some extra ink on there. Alright, so knock my dust off here. Okay, so now it's ready to emboss. Got my little handy dandy tool here. It's kind of an older one, but they have them all over at every craft store pretty much. And there you have it. So this is a good application for using faux-ligraphy. Like I said, I like to do it with little wood signs. I like to do it anytime pretty much I write on wood. It really has a lot of great applications if you're going to write really large and you just don't have the right size pen, or if you're going to write on a weird surface. So faux-ligraphy is a really good trick to have in your book, even if you are already skilled with calligraphy. It's still really handy to have this skill in your book because you may need it. Your calligraphy tools aren't going to work on every surface or in every scenario, so if you understand the basic downstrokes and upstrokes, and you can, you know, where to thicken the lines to make it look like you used a calligraphy tool, then you are able to kind of expand where you can use calligraphy. So I use this a lot. I hope that this is helpful for you, and I'd love to see what you create. Have a great day.